What's up everyone, Praful here and welcome back to yet another episode of Breakfast with Traders where I talk to some of the most seasoned and the most genuine traders that I personally know. In this episode, I have a trader friend of mine who has been trading the markets for more than a decade. And he's also lucky in a way that he was mentored by his own parents who were also traders. I know Yogeshwar from almost 5 years now and he's very successful at what he does. Incidentally, his trading style matches the way I trade as well. So we'll get Yogeshwar, we'll talk over the breakfast and we'll dive into his trading journey. So let's get Yogeshwar for breakfast. Hey Yogi, thanks a lot for doing this, man.
Yeah, man, sure.
You know, the reason why I started this series is to give that pragmatic optimism to the people who seek trading as a full-time profession. Because trading ko leke na, either there is a lot of cynicism or there is too much of dreamy hope selling that's going on over social media. So when I talk to people like you who have been doing this for quite some time and I know you personally, so these conversations should give that pragmatic optimism. मतलब एक optimism होना चाहिए कि चलो भाई this profession can be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they should understand all the real and raw side of this space. So that's the reason. And thanks again for doing. So, Yogi, it's been like what, 10 years now since you started trading?
Actually, actively trading for 10 years. I'm starting my 8th year as a full-time trader.
As a full-time trader, 8th year, actively trading for last 10 years.
Yeah. Like,
I know for a fact that your parents are also traders.
yeah, they were.
And how long they have been trading?
My father has been trading from 90s,
Okay.
early
Nice.
90s, and my mother from early 2000s, especially in F&O space.
Oh, they are F&O traders.
My mother
Wow.
is the first F&O trader in the family.
Really?
My
This-
father is actually an investor,
Huh.
and she introduced me to options.
Wow.
My first ever trade was in her account when I was in 12th, passed out, and I did a Tata Steel buy option in call.
Okay. How did that turn out?
Actually, it turned out to be a profit. That's why I'm here now.
Okay. So, you know, in the Indian households, generally, like trading is considered akin to gambling, right? Like there is so much of cynicism around trading. Now, you coming from a family where both your parents were traders, it must be a boon, right?
It's a mixed concept because, like, when my father and mother were trading, this kind of info wasn't available easily. So we didn't see it as like a gambling pit. My father actually saw it to be what it was initially, but my mother saw it as a new space actually. Like she was a housewife and she wanted to do something, and this looked like a lucrative thing which she could do, and she started doing this. But we quickly found out the real picture behind it because small money doesn't work here. And that turned out to be like a epiphany for everyone in the family, and we started moving away from trading as I was graduating actually. So when my father has acquired a lot of books over the years, so I was into book reading after I graduated from school. So from there I quickly turned into trading in my college days, early college days.
You tell me, like you said that like you had that epiphany that छोटे capital से कुछ ज़्यादा हो नहीं सकता markets. I always say this, it's called capital markets for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? So when you realize that छोटे capital से कुछ हो नहीं सकता, now when you started trading right after your college, right after your graduation, like how much did you start with?
Actually, it was a borrowed money. I consider it as such from my father, 1.5 lakhs.
Okay.
But I too also, I wasn't hoping to do much. I was that kind of trader who read the Jesse Livermore's book and I was like, करूँगा futures में सब कुछ.
Okay.
And I did that. Actually, my first trade turned out to be very good, which was in India Bulls Housing Finance. I bought one lot, it doubled. Like my capital doubled. The stock went up by 6% or something in the third day of the trade.
Mhm.
So I cashed in. I put the money in investing. Like I bought Kotak Bank shares there, which is still lying in my Demat account, and I started trading again with the 1.5 lakh.
Mm.
But I never made money after that. It's like I never lost it. Also, I never made in futures also after that. So slowly I started moving towards option selling, which I thought I would do when I was in college. But I turned to futures because I didn't have any capital.
Mm.
So I slowly turned back to option selling. I did a stock option selling. I could do one lot and quickly realized 1.5 lakhs won't be enough for this to make a living at least.
Mm.
So we had to inject some capital after that. My mother actually believed in me so much, she kept her jewels in the bank to give
Wow.
me 3 lakhs. And my capital went up till 4.5, and in 2018 I got that 4.5 and I did one lot in expiries. Only Thursdays I
Mm.
trade. One lot, I could do 2 to 3 lots, but I do one lot strangles like, and I keep adjusting them with my own pre-considered stop losses.
Mm.
So that way I learned how to do expiries, and to scale up again. I also know that one lot won't work for a living. I was trading for a living basically from the start. I've never done anything else, right? So I knew I had to scale up, and I got the confidence to scale up too. So I took another loan kind of thing. No, put chit and pool funds. That we put the chit for 5 lakhs. We took out 2 months only, like 3.5 lakhs. You get the money, and my capital went to 8, and again 2.5x. I started making like 50-60K a month.
This was in 2019, 2018,
2018 end, and 2019 I started grinding much. Like I was having good months. Or like people started believing me there itself.
At any point of time you thought that okay, I think this is a bad idea, मेरे को कुछ मतलब normal तरीके से job करना पड़ेगा. At any point of time, because generally we have trading में कैसे होता है, like there will be like some days which will make you question everything that you know, because the markets will throw you such curveballs. So that is the point where it is kind of a make or break point for a trader, where like we go into all these contemplations, क्या ये करना सही है कि नहीं है?
That I think you can never not have this, especially me who has done nothing else, right? Like I had this like what do you call, nightmarish experiences a lot. First one came in 2018 October 17th. I remember,
You remember the date also?
vividly because it was a day to remember for me, because I was making money every expiry. It's like I was trading with one lots that time, and I scaled up to 9 lakhs, and I was making money every expiry up to that point by constantly adjusting the deltas. But this one hit me hard because there is so much you could do in the market, and sometimes you just have to surrender to the market. That's the first time I'm learning that from the market. It's like market gapped up, it kept on falling. It gapped up like 2%, it went till minus 2% on Bank Nifty. I was like keeping on adjusting the deltas. I was like, what is happening? It's like sliding. And after a point, I took a 4 to 5% loss. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I just lost last 2 months profit or something. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? Did I make the right choice? That's the first time I had it. But since then, I've had it so many times that right now I'm
You've
like
become numb to that.
Not numb. I actually have that now also, but I have some sort of confidence that I'll recover it in some way.
Where does your capital stand right now? Your personal capital?
It's going around 10 right now.
10 CR, right?
Yeah.
Because like people will think that 10 lakhs.
But it's not everything is in market right now. I had to divest myself.
So 10 is in the markets, and apart from that, like you've divest somewhere, or 10 is your net worth, and
10 is my net worth.
10 is your net worth.
Yeah.
Dude, like having accumulating, 10 CR at the age of 29 is not a small feat. That too from starting from 1.5 lakhs. So first of all, congratulations on that.
No, I want to I started with 1.5. That wasn't my capital per se. We kept injecting capital also. But
still,
yeah.
But still, it's not a small feat, right?
I don't want to give the impression that 1.5 lakhs is enough, right?
Of course not.
Yeah,
of course not. Yeah. And also, like I'm gonna talk about this also because like you took loan and all that. Now I want to ask, like, if you were to do the same thing over and again, would you do it? Let's not talk about that now, but let's have that conversation over breakfast.
Sure.
So, Yogeshwar, from starting from a capital of 1.5 lakhs, now we are slinging digits of crores every single day. How does it feel? Has something changed, or does it feel like you still, find that first day of fascination in the markets?
To be honest, right now I feel burnt out, but I didn't raise my AUM since last 3 years because I know I plateaued at some point. Because I've seen that like if you keep increasing your capital, the curve of making more money in absolute terms
Yeah.
stagnates at a point.
Yeah.
Because I'm come from a like very normal family, and seeing a market to market swings of like few crores is
Yeah.
not possible for
It's
me.
not possible.
I thought I'll get used to it, but it's not happening for me.
You use the word that you feel burnt out lately. And this is the case among a lot of my trader friends. I speak to a lot of friends on a regular basis, like who are into full-time trading, and they all feel a little burnt out. And for some reason, we can attribute this burnout to daily expiries.
Yes.
Is it the same case with you as well?
It's actually the only case with me because I live to trade markets, and when I started out, right, it was only Thursday expiries. I used to do some Wednesdays too, like 0 DT, 1 DTs. But Thursdays is the day I go full in. Like I put on the accelerators, I go for everything. I risk almost 4% a day on Thursdays. But right now, it's like you're risking 4% every day or 3% every day. So I'm totally like engaged every day. Like I'm so exhausted.
At full intensity.
It's like every day is a Thursday now. So we can control it back to like do only Thursdays again, but it's not like I'm not used to it.
I get that point. Do you think that like you're taking incrementally higher risks by trading everyday expiries?
Yes, this was an issue for me like 2 years back when FinNifty expiry even came up. I discussed this with
That's when like the expiry mania started, I guess.
Yes, I discussed this with my partner too. Like, let's say we incrementally bet 0 DTs only on Thursday, the chances of getting hit by a black swan is considerably less when you hit every day 0 DT every day.
True.
Like black swan in the sense I don't even suggest it is a market move. Can be the Sensex mishap where we are caught and left with nothing to do.
Correct, yeah. When the exchange shuts down or when the broker glitch happens.
The exchange glitches has happened so many times before. Right from 2017 I've seen this. So this could easily affect if you do it daily, right?
Especially if you have highly levered positions on
Yes,
short gamma.
Yeah, and this is the reason I cannot like don't want to scale up also more. Like I want to keep my losses so that I can sleep at night too.
Hey, have the breakfast.
Yeah.
Generally we go for like English breakfast, okay, but now that we are in Namma Bengaluru, let's have South Indian breakfast.
Especially when I'm a Tamilian, you have to put the vada and idli.
Yeah, like idli and vada is a must for you.
It tastes good.
Is good?
Shira.
I particularly have a sweet tooth, so I can't resist sweets.
You have good genetics, man.
It's not like I've been working out for like 11 years now, so tell me, like, you started out very early.
Yeah.
Probably like when you were 16 or 17.
17. Yeah.
Now, before committing to full-time trading, were you profitable, or you were just like placing some blind bets here and there and like making money on some, losing money on some?
I wasn't profitable, but I didn't lose money. That's the catch there. It's like I had some setups which I was defending when I was in college in my early days, like moving averages, which I stick to
Even now?
even now. And my technical analysis were very good, but the time period of holding the trades or my stop losses were the thing which I think every trader has to work out for his own psychology. Like he has to feel how he is good in a trade or a setup and adapt to it.
after you started full-time trading, were you profitable right from month one, or like you had a few months of
No,
getting used to the markets?
I started in 2017 August as a full-time trader. Till 2018 May, I wasn't profitable. Actually, I was running break-even or losing money. Post that, I got into zero DT. I traded only that. I built up my confidence.
So you've been
there.
trading zero DT when zero DT was not even popular in the country.
Yeah, but some traders were doing it actually.
Of course.
Yeah, I saw that and I developed my own style into it. So from that, I used to trade only zero DT. It's like nothing else. I simply watch the market every other day. Only trade Thursdays. It's like I had a string of like from May to October, no loss days. Like only Thursday, everything is a green day. I had that.
That time, like even selling options was very profitable and very lucrative because it was kind of an untapped market. Like not many participants were there, so there was a tangible alpha there.
Yes.
And now that there is a fixed piece of pie, and the participants to capture that piece has increased a lot, and because
Yes.
of which it's very
your,
hard for
your
everyone.
size is getting
Correct.
thinner.
The reward size is getting thinner.
But you didn't actually know it at that time. Like I was too young and I was just getting started, right? But so I didn't know it at that time. I felt like what I was making was still hard money. It always
of
felt
course.
that way.
For the first 9 months, like you were not profitable, and you also said that like your mom went all in on you. She had a bet on you, correct? Because
Yeah.
like she kind of pledged her jewelry and like she gave you your base capital. Now, in that 9 month ka period, how was your psyche? Like what was going through your head? Because now there is a huge influx of traders, new traders. Some people are coming right out of the college. Some people have just joined the jobs and they are, trying to fund their trading account from their salaries and stuff like that, and they're still not yet profitable. So I want to understand the psyche part of it. Strategy part, वो strategy ढूंढना या एक framework बनाना वो time के साथ आ जाएगा. But managing your emotions, handling yourself during those times when the money is not flowing. So that is what I want to know. Like, what were you feeling that time?
I don't want to glorify this because there is no glorification in this. I wanted to quit because I wasn't doing anything with my life. Like till now I only traded. So at that point I had to like make a decision. So I was like, should I prepare for a CAT exam or something? Do my MBA? I actually back of my mind it was going through. I was going through it. So but I found the zero DT at the right time, I guess. And I know if I change my style somehow I can survive in this market because it's like I've been seeing at that point itself I've been seeing the market for 4 years. I'm technically good. Only the execution part I had to improve. I have to find something to fund my execution now. That's it.
And that is when you moved to Mumbai?
No, 17 I didn't move. I moved by 20. 2020 I moved.
But by 2020 you were already quite profitable yourself, right?
Yeah, that was, I was quite profitable and I have to, that track record I have to prove to someone to take me to Mumbai and fund me there.
Oh, so basically between 2020 and 2021 you got funded and then you traded on that capital, and that's how you made your additional money to infuse to your personal capital.
Yeah, it simply didn't grow as such, right? Everything didn't come from profits. It's like I built a track record from my own account. Somebody came to my home and saw that from Mumbai, and I have to be grateful at this time to point him out, Jitendra Jain. And he saw whether I do this actually. Like he came to my home every expiry from Mumbai on every Thursday and watched me trade. And he saw, he just put an offer. It's like, you come to Mumbai, I'll fund you. So I took another like 6 to 8 months to take the decision.
Offer.
And I moved there.
So from hindsight, you think that was the best decision?
Of course it was. Because if I was doing what I was doing, I'd be like home by 5th of what I'm now. Just because leverage has gone out, and I was very content at what I was doing at my hometown, Trichy. And this funding part helped me.
See, this is again a very tactical move from you, because a lot of people try to improve their ROI. मैं 5% बना रहा हूँ, उसको मैं 10% करने को try करूँगा. Some strategy is like a 3 sharp strategy. I want to increase it to 5 sharp strategies. But you looked it at a very logical level, and he's like, okay, all the money that I'm making, it should not be from my own profits, but I should be funded, so I should be managing a better size so that I'll be making good money, so that my personal account grows, and from there, like, I can take
Yes.
off.
Because every good trader knows this, right? Like you want to improve your ROI, you want to increase your risk too. So I don't want to do that actually. So, I want to keep it notionally. I want to make more money. So I needed the funds. I understood at some point in 2019 I needed the funds to trade. So I consciously took the decision to move to Mumbai.
Nice. Like, you have been trading zero DT actively for so long now. Has it been the only kind of trades that you do, or like you have some other trades as well?
No. Like I'm not limited to zero DT. I can say this openly. My biggest days were like on buy options days. Like
I remember your Adani trade.
yeah.
I think like we had a call like when you made that bongus amount of money on that one single trade when Hindenburg report came
Yeah.
out, right? So explain that trade to me, like.
So I have seen such trades like most of my career, like from 17. Like first happened with India Bulls Housing Finance, and similarly DHFL, one stock was there, PC Jewelers, and one more S Bank. And I've never participated in any of this, but everywhere chart patterns were same. It's like hanging, some news impending in the fundamentally. So that it was a hanging pattern in Adani. It was hanging, and they have to push for some new IPO listing price. So I was waiting for it, and I had consciously bought like 5 lots of put, some 200 points away from the spot, and I was waiting for it. Then report came out. I added another 5 lots, and I waited. Executing the trades were very easy. The very difficult part was hanging on to the trades, because like 2 to 3 times I saw the trade make money like 5x and go back to zero. So the hanging part was like hanging on to the
This
trade
is what the most important thing as a trader, correct? Like
Huh.
holding on to your conviction through those MTM swings,
yeah.
because it's not just initiation of the trade till booking of the profits. Between the point A to point B, that the swings, the journey of the mark to market.
Especially as you are a core option seller, people like around me also in Mumbai, I was at Mumbai at this point, people were like, see 5x or 2x, cut it.
Huh.
So people were telling that, because it was an option buy position. I was like, no, I've seen such trades evolve. I'll wait for it. I'll completely forget how the money here made is. I'll completely forget. I'll do zero DT somewhere else. Completely forget about the trade. And I feel that's the core point of like buying options, in my opinion. Actually, like you should be happy to let it go.
Basically,
to zero.
you should be outcome agnostic.
Yeah.
You should not be like too attached with the results of it.
Because Black Swan, you make big money buying options, but Black Swan by definition you don't know what is going to happen. Result agnostic, right? So it's like leave it there. You fund your bread and butter with something else. That's how I buy options.
If I'm not wrong, like you held on to that option for more than 20 days, right?
Yeah, I held the full ride up to the 1,000, and I
From
didn't
4,000, I guess.
Yeah, 3,900.
3,900
I had
1,000.
3,700
Adani
top put.
Enterprises, yeah.
And I was holding on to it up to 1,000. I didn't get a seller there.
Because you're
So,
deep ITM.
Yeah, so I had to buy shares.
Ah.
So to hedge the outcomes. So it saved me on taxes also.
Ah. Nice. So this is like, intra-segment hedging.
Yeah.
Like you sell a future and you can buy back in the cash market. You can sell an option, you can counter it by buying in the futures or in the options market. So people don't understand. Like people have a very one-dimensional look at trading. Like they're
So
like
this
options
this
mein buy
idea
kiya
we
to-
have to come up with somehow, because
Correct.
I didn't get a seller there. It's like we can't like deliver shares.
I know a guy like who did intra-index hedging.
Okay.
That is, it was a day when I think it was Sensex. It was very immature at that point, probably last year, and BSE stopped working.
Okay.
So what he did is he had a lot of these put options, which were like one strike OTM put options sold. So what he did is he sold some futures in Nifty, and that is like thinking on its feet.
Yes.
When everyone was like, "Oh,
When
BSE
money
band
is
ho
on
gaya."
the line, no,
Huh.
you do anything.
That's the problem, no? Like the response of different people is different.
Yeah.
Some people go into flight or fight mode. Correct? Like they'll be like, "Oh, BSE काम करना बंद किया, मैं क्या करूँ? This guy is like smart. हाँ, BSE काम करना बंद किया ना. Sensex and Nifty तो almost like same composition है. So instead of like covering my BSE shorts, which I'm not able to do that, so I'll just short some futures equivalent to this notional, so that even if the market corrects by 10%, hits the circuit also, I'll not lose anything, because whatever these options, put options are losing, the same amount I'll be making from the futures. So by far, that Adani trade is your biggest.
In a single trade, yes, but I have a lot of different categories.
How
to
did you
cover.
make in that? Give me the number.
It's 8 digits. As much. Actually, it was like after the report came out and the first 30% move came, I again entered one more like tranche of puts. It made only 3x. Like IVs were so high, it made 3x. But the first, it went bonkers. Like 70 rupees I bought it. I almost cut it at 2900 something.
From
didn't-
70
I-
to 2900.
I couldn't cut it actually. I had to buy back the shares.
Whatever.
Uh-huh.
See, in the way you squared off your
Yeah.
position, not in that particular instrument, but using other
Yeah.
instruments, it's pretty much the same. But 70 to 2900 is like one crazy ride, man.
But I never thought I'll make money in the trade, to be honest. Like I was like putting it there, let it be there. That's how I buy options all the time. I fund it with something else.
Do you actively buy options even now?
Yeah, when I see certain setups like the day I mentioned when we were traveling here, that October 17th, when I have a hunch of that happening again, I go into like buying options more.
So you use the word hunch. Like, what's the percentage of this hunch turning out to be right, and what's the percentage that you're wrong?
Turning out to be right will be 10%. But
That's all.
that is enough for me.
That is enough.
Yeah.
This is what like convex positive systems are, right? Like where you're just like one winner out of your 10 trades.
Because this is not my bread and butter, right? Because I'm getting funded by 0DT. I'm using that profit to do something else.
Correct.
Actually.
So basically, you are predominantly an option seller, and you use some part of
Part of
that
it.
to fund these,
Yes.
you know,
Stock
asymmetric
play,
asymmetric risk reward wala trades.
I actually funded this elections from 0DT. I had a huge like 9% on capital bet, long options bet on market collapsing, but it didn't work out.
How much did you book in that?
I booked
The loss.
total loss. Yeah,
Then-
but I ended May at break even, not break even, 1% higher.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think then you went short wall on budget, right?
Yeah,
That gave a good.
post-budget. I had to wait till budget. I know something was happening, but I had to wait till budget. I always do this. Event days, I go short wall after the event, not while the event or before the event.
But generally, right after the event, the IVs plummet, right? Like, how will it help?
IVs plummet, but you cannot manage the deltas. It's like you think IVs plummet also, but at index level, what I've seen even in you see RBI policies, right? They plummet instantly, and they don't give you a chance to exit. At least for me manually, the rate I traded, and I have to wait. After I wait, it again expands into a delta move.
Drift
So-
तो रहेगा.
हाँ.
Drift तो रहेगा. But that's
You
what
get
I'm
a-
asking.
You get a clearer picture in monthlies, not in 0DTs, where you can't handle the swings. So you stay at monthlies and wait for the IVs to plummet in 0DTs, then go into monthlies. You'll get a clearer picture there. So I have these kind of rule of thumbs I use. So trade the events only in monthlies, not in 0DTs.
Like what's your average monthly returns as of now, approx?
It's on the higher side, but I won't say you should benchmark it. Let's say it's 6 or 7%.
So 6 or 7, you feel it's higher.
Yeah.
But majority of the entrants, like who are entering the markets, they want to double their money within a month.
Let's eat to that.
So they say that the first crore is the hardest. Now like you trade with a decent sized capital, probably like 6-7 crores of your own money. Correct. Now out of that first crore, how much did it come from your personal trading, and how much it was because like you started managing funds?
I cannot actually put a number on it right now. Like I don't know actually notionally, but very little of it came from my own money because I was using my own expenses, funding my own expenses with the personal account. So my first crore actually came from
Mostly
the funded
funded
part.
accounts.
Yeah.
A lot of people like I get hundreds of DMs like who's like, sir, like I've lost money, like can you fund me, I'll return it and all that. That is never going to happen.
Yes.
Correct? Like you need to have a track record. In the end, like even if an investor wants to fund you and like support you as a trader, basically they need to know that okay, my money is not, in the hands of a gambler who can lose the entire thing at any point of time. So a lot of people like don't focus on building the track record. They want like these quick fixes.
Yes.
But you took that path of long term thinking where like you built your track record and then somehow okay, call it luck or call it being at the right place at the right time. Now how much of this long term thinking has come because you saw your parents trade?
They gave me the confidence to be in the market in the first place. But I think for me, I was from the very start, I was very conservative trader. So I was like, I don't want to lose money. I have to get confident at what I do. So that took a long graph for me. It's like I regret it now that I didn't take more risk initially. So I had all the leverages with me, but I constantly stuck with 2.5x leverage. I won't increase more than that. I had that with me, which helped me in the bad situations. But
Correct.
yeah, but I have to take a leap of faith after some point in
This
getting
is
funded.
this is what like people don't realize, right? They think that leverage is a shortcut to success, but they don't understand that it is a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
जिस दिन लॉस होगा पूरा अकाउंट लेके जाएगा.
Yeah, I'll tell you an instance. I was like 15x in 2019.
15x notional or 15x on top of what the exchanges allow?
15x on top of exchange.
Oh, okay. Then basically like you were like 75x levered.
Yeah. And I was like, this was May 2nd or 3rd week. Just elections got over next Thursday. Election results came out.
2019?
Yeah.
Huh.
Next Thursday, this happened. I was riding high. Like I'm the god scenario there. So I was trading with this new terminal also, which I'm not accustomed with. I was this much leveraged, and that was the day I saw the biggest notional up to that point. I was down 20 lakhs, and I didn't even know I was down 20 lakhs. It's
That
like,
the 20 lakhs is what percentage of your capital?
it was almost 30%.
30% of your capital.
In the account I was trading. I was like, what is happening? I didn't even know what is happening. So that was a
Wake up call.
wake up. Not even wake up. I knew this could happen, but that was the first time I actually saw it happen. So I was like, from here on, I know how much leverage I need and how much P&L swings I
You
want
can
to
manage.
digest. I was defining all those things from there. From 2019, I have never had a losing month or a losing week up to
Till
our mid-cap fiasco.
till that mid-cap mishap. I know. Because over the last few months, right, because of the zero DT expiry and because of so much of increased participation, a lot of systemic risks have opened up.
Yeah, mid-cap fiasco, what is more
Concerning.
about it was a lot of my SLs were skipped.
Yeah.
And everything came back to zero, but I had to cut at some point.
Of course, like you can't wait, you can't sit in hope, right?
Yeah.
And forget about mid-cap. Like mid-cap, to log bolte ki haan, it's an immature index and it's such a low market cap index, which with just few hundred crores, they can completely like move the index to the to their whims and fancies. But it happened on Nifty as well. The very
No,
next
I
couple
don't-
of weeks.
I don't
later.
think so. Where it happens matters as much as to, because when something big happens, it doesn't matter what index it is,
Correct.
right? So you can't blame the participants like they are manipulating mid cap. Something big happens, this is going to happen, because I've seen in May 2019 itself, bank nifties were trading places like there used to be freeze for options,
Correct. Option freeze was
Uh-huh.
there. Yeah.
like 8 rupees, 26, 116, 246. There wasn't no trade in between. That happened. So I've seen that. So I wasn't surprised by this Nifty thing, because I stopped trading after mid cap. Zero DT, I literally took a seat back. Like same I did on May 19.
This is what is the trend that I'm noticing among a lot of the professional traders, the full-time traders. They are slowly moving away from zero DT. What happened is majority of the money that a lot of traders made between 2019 to 2022 was trading expiries, selling options. Now they thought that, oh, if I get the same opportunity 5 days a week, my ROI is going to significantly improve. But almost all of them, including me, were wrong. So all of us, including some of the very close friends that I know, they're slowly diversifying across different instruments, slowly diversifying across like different, time frame trading, and they're slowly moving away from zero DT. Now, after that mid cap expiry, like what is your allocation right now? Like how much of the size reduction that has happened in your expiry trading?
So I go for 50% overnight whatsoever happens. It's like I'm hedged there also. And I keep 50% of my cap free for the intraday trades. It doesn't have to be 0 DT per se. It can be 1 DT or I actually have traded 1 DT in stocks. So it can be there also.
1 DT in stocks.
Yeah.
So basically before the monthly options.
Yeah. If you spot it correctly now, Fed event always happens Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
So that time you will never make money in 0 DT or this one.
Point.
1 DT. So I find opportunities elsewhere. So if decent size is possible, I put them in stocks also.
Do you trade like stock options? Do you sell options on single stock options, SSO?
Yeah, regularly.
You do it that regularly?
Yeah.
Is it
Overnight
because
mein I have a-
is it earnings trade or post earnings drift को trade करता है?
like everything, auto sales data out, there's a IV drop, earnings trade, and I see some IV percentile increase due to a move. I do there also.
It's like from your conversation, no, like I'm noticing that like you are taking cues not just from the price, but also from the news, the reports, the sales data, and all those things.
Yeah, because as a trader, I do it as a profession, right? I watch everything. I try to do what FM. I don't know what they're speaking, right? Technically, I don't know, but I know when the event is happening because that affects my MTM.
But if you can't decipher how a particular cause is going to affect the price, then why not stick just to the price? Because they say that price discounts everything.
No, I'm looking for IV opportunities. Like
Okay.
say where there is news, there is always volatility. I'm looking for binary trades there. So let's every month there is auto sales data. I'm somewhere in Bajaj Auto or Maruti. I have a trade.
So
Let
you
it-
use the word binary trades. It means like hit or miss kind of trades.
No, it's a yes or no trades. It's like it's a good news or a bad news.
Acha, okay.
So if it's a bad news, there is a volatility increase. It's a good news. Mostly there isn't a volatility increase. That kind of trades. It's mostly put ratios or call ratios.
Oh, you prefer ratios there.
Yeah.
Do you trade like ratios on an intraday basis as well?
It's not that cost effective right now.
Correct. So you work for a trading firm, right? Even
Yeah.
now, like you manage trading firms, cap and all that, and now you are a head trader there. So what's your role as a head trader?
So I get consulted for the strategies they want to deploy. It's like, is it scalable first, and will it be profitable? I decide those things, and I manage a certain set of capital which provides alpha. So, and I also take the directional bets. Most directional bets are taken by me. It's like the Adani trade was taken by me. Maybe the selection trades went wrong, but yeah, the ultimate decision was taken by me.
Now, is there a risk parameter that the entire firm adheres by?
Yeah, we go on a 9% VAR basis.
Always it's 9% VAR.
Yeah.
Even on the intraday trades.
Yeah.
Even on the intraday trades, it's 9% VAR.
Because intraday alone, if you consider it's 20%, but
No,
we are
I'm
divided.
talking about the overall capital.
It's 9%.
Huh, because on the capital deployed, it can be 20%,
Actually,
25%,
everything
whatever
gets
it
cut
is.
or doesn't go to loss more than 9%. We trade in such a way that hedged or RMS cuts at 9%. We have a system like that.
Got it. Now, the influential person in your life, Jitendra Jain,
Yeah.
he's also a part of your trading firm. Apart from him, who do you think like has shaped you as a trader over these many years?
My father, and I'd guess
Obviously.
and my mother too. And I'd go for Angad Singh, he's not actually as prominent in Twitter or social media right now. And I'd go for Mitesh Patel and Manu Bhatia.
Manu Bhatia, right?
Yeah.
So Manu is one of the very like decent and very positive kind of person that even back in 2019, like I used to like follow him and follow his work. Even I have huge respect for guys like Pawan Arora, who has been trading in the derivative markets from 2010. Nice, like you have you have learned a lot from all these guys. But most of these guys have kind of gone underground. Now they are not too active on Twitter.
Actually, even I don't see the point of being as much active on Twitter, because like you made your money, right? So, what you're gaining from? You're not here to prove someone, right? It's we are
that's-
getting to that point, right?
That's probably the normal trajectory of any person, I guess.
Yes.
Because like once you come to the limelight, and after that, like you slowly like you want your own peace and you want to stay in your own lane.
See, this is a profession which is already psychologically very demanding. So you don't want to be on a social media where you need constantly approved by someone else, right? So it adds some more pressure to you.
Pranav, like, do you still get validated by your profits, or you think that bro, like I don't have anything to do with the results? मेरा काम है trade लेना. कभी profit होगा, कभी loss होगा. Like I'm okay in the long run. I know for a fact that I'm gonna make money. Or do you still get that validation ka hit that you get when you take good trades?
Right now, if I do well on my directional bets, I get that validation equally.
Do you get cocky?
No, it's like cocky is different from getting vindicated. You can say it's like you believe in something so much, it happens, you feel vindicated. Cocky is like, yeah, it happened because I bet it. So that is different.
Good differentiation there.
Huh.
And when that like affirmation seeps back in, does it reflect in your immediate next trade?
Actually, not. You don't get that much of an alpha in directional trades, as many opportunities as you think. It's like there are a lot of opportunities you miss, but the chances of taking them is very, very light. You get that cockiness very little nowadays, because you understand you are going to take 1 in 1,000 opportunities anyway.
At times, even you get that God complex.
Especially if you go on a run.
When you have that months of Midas touch.
Yeah, just like even in zero DTs, I even come out on profits on very, very tough days, because I'm able to judge the spikes coming or the directionals, trending days. I used to trend the days correctly. I used to get that cockiness, but I know it's the market which is making me, for setting me up. Usually when I win big, I also lose big, because right now I understand that, because when I win big, I keep pushing myself to increase my size. As my size keeps on increasing, as I'm on a streak, it's a small down day if you're normally sized, but as your size is increased, a small down day becomes big.
But that is a fundamental principle of trend following and pyramiding. That's how it is done.
Yeah.
When something is working in your favor, like you have to bet big.
Yes.
And you have to slowly scale down when things are not working.
Yes.
And the flip side of that is, yes, you scale, and suddenly like there's a loss on a bigger size.
I feel that the main job as a trader is to balance the sizing, nothing else. It's like market gives you money when it wants to. You just size it correctly to make such that when the money is coming your side, your size is better, and when money is not coming, your size is small. It's the actual like role of you as a trader.
I think like this is something which I've noticed. Okay, like people are so focused on the entries. मुझे कौन सा इंडिकेटर यूज करके कहाँ पे कौन सा स्विंग पे कौन सा प्राइस एक्शन पॉइंट पे एंट्री लेना है, बट in the long run, how much you're gonna make or how much you're gonna lose is mostly based on position sizing.
Yes.
Not even stop loss, not even risk. It's your position
95%,
sizing.
98% of is it execution. How you execute, what is the size. So like I nowadays developed a rule of thumbs to how much to enter if something happens and how much to decrease.
Basically, how to ladder into the positions.
Yes. I'm not able to put it into words. Yeah, but I have a like certain rules which I write every night and do that stuff.
Even now you do that.
Yeah,
After 10 years of...
I especially after the mid cap, I'm doing it right now.
Like you write a lot, you read a lot, like you're so like there is a lot of affinity with the books, right?
Yeah.
What do you read like?
Mostly I'm into literature and history, and I'm a history buff, to be honest. And I spend most of my time reading apart from trading.
I know. Like you're a proper introvert. Like I'm surprised that you're like opening up so much in this interview. I mean, it's not an interview, in this conversation, to be honest. But what's the size of your book collection?
Right now it's sitting at 500, but I hope
500 books, huh?
But I've read like more books on my Kindle. Like,
Okay.
Like started with Kindle, now into physical books because I like the smell of it.
Okay. See, now we are already at a decent point, right? Like you're not in the phase of survival at all. Like you're in that growth and thriving phase where like the money that you're making from trading is only to improve your net worth and to create that generational wealth. Like
Maybe lifestyle.
you're in that path now. Where does it stop? कहाँ तक करना है?
Do you want me to quote a number or something?
A number would be better in terms of having that clarity of thought. But even if you don't have a number, you might be having a vague point where you say that okay, after this point probably I'll retract a bit. I'll pull off a bit.
See, I live to trade, okay? Even if you give me a wealthy inheritance, I'd slice 2% of it and start trading. So that is never going to stop. Maybe that intensity might reduce, which will, like, I don't want to care about my lifestyle preferences. When that point is attained, which may be in 2 or 3 years, I can drastically like reduce the intensity of my trading.
What do you mean by reduce the intensity? Like you'll completely quit intraday
I'm actually considering it.
right now?
Not right now, maybe in 2 or 3 years, but yeah, I have to consider it because I want to concentrate on my reading more. It's as simple as that.
You don't
But
like to
say-
socialize with people of like-mindedness?
It would help. I would like it if it would help me, but I'm not a socializing person per se. It's
Probably like we hardly talk. Like once in a while we talk. We hardly catch up in person, and most of the traders are like that because we, especially once you start making money as a trader, now like your ability to cut crap goes drastically high.
infinitely high.
Correct?
It's like, yeah, because that is also your work. In trading part also, I guess most of my workload is on finding the difficult days and cutting my sizes, so that I don't lose when I lose. Even if I make money there, I don't consider it as
Basically, cutting everything that doesn't serve you.
yeah, because like if you're finding losing days, you're finding the noise. Like I have a rule of thumb, like first 1 hour there is no decay on the index on a 0 DT. I don't size there at all. It has served me better now. It's like for past 6 months I've identified like from my Excel sheet that has served me better. So I each day like put an Excel sheet, how much quantity I've traded, brokerage I've given, how much money I make, everything I work out, which day I'm more profitable at. I do those kind of things. So
This
I'm
is-
cutting noise there itself.
So this is something like interesting, okay? Because people like who have traded so many years as you do, okay, including me, like I don't keep a journal. I don't, go back to my old trades and analyze. It's like everything is now at this point. Everything is based on intuition. You have done something for so long, you just show up every day and you do it. But in your case, there is still a methodical approach even after this.
I guess because I've seen different market cycles. So when I first started doing this, there was only one expiry, like Thursdays alone. So when I did that, I found that every Friday I lose, not every Friday, most Fridays I lose money. So I cut it, I never traded Fridays. Monday I made little money. All my 65% of the money was made on Thursdays, and 30 or 20% were made on Wednesdays. And Tuesdays made some trending monies. But so this helped me identify. But as we moved, I wanted to carry on to the 0 DT era now. So market also kept changing, so I have to like keep on tabbing my trades.
Now you're pretty much like trading every expiry, right? Though you're sizing it down, but you're still trading every expiry.
Of course. I guess we both trade the same way when it.
I was about to say that, right? Like yours and my trading style are pretty much identical. But people think that all non-directional trading is the same. But there are certain days where you also trade non-directional, which is your favorite. For example, I know for a fact that you love slow grinding downtrending days.
Yes.
You sell the calls and you buy the put options. You fund the put options by selling the call
That is
option.
because this is something I learned while we were in the car. We were discussing a day, you remember, October 17th. That day happened as a slow grinding down day. With every up move, I was selling puts there. To again cut my puts at higher prices when the market came down. So a great amateur trader doesn't cut his losses. A good trader cut his losses. A great trader reverses his position. So I had to learn from there, and I had to reverse my puts here. So every time I want to catch a downtrending day, I go for a long puts.
That day you mentioned, October 17th, where you lost a big chunk of money because the markets moved like down.
Yeah.
So that was a point which kind of changed the perspective.
Of course, yes. I actually came into trading purely as a directional trader. My journey started as a directional trader. I wanted to be a directional trader at core. So it will always stay with me. It's part of my persona. So I will stay the same.
So even in non-directional trading, you will add a tinge of directional
all
bias
all the time,
right?
all the time. See, even if I want to sell a straddle, right? If I'm directional, I'll sell a lower straddle. Like
Correct.
Market is
Or
going
you
down.
sell a bias triangle.
Right now I have a open position in 24,500 straddle in Nifty. So because I'm directionally biased towards down, so I do that all the time. It's never like I'll do a
Completely neutral thing.
That never goes
Mm.
unless it's a earnings and I don't know nothing about it. I might do it. Otherwise, never.
Because for me personally, it's the exact opposite. I like slow grinding uptrending days.
Yes.
Where the IVs keep on dropping and I can aggressively like roll my puts closer and closer and closer, and I can collect the
Because
premiums from the OTM calls as well.
you are used to that kind of trading, like
Yeah.
where you only sell options.
Yeah.
What happens for me in call what do you mean uptrending days is calls lose their IVs faster
Correct.
when there is even a small drop.
Pullback.
So I don't like to buy calls there. So for me, uptrending days is always a mania for me. It's like I don't know whether to sell the upper straddle because I'm always skeptical that market will fall because all my losses have come there. So I always look for a
no
down.
matter like how much you give, how much importance you give to technical analysis and all those things, your inner intuition or your inner biases will always come to play in the markets, right?
Yeah, your market is you're only as big as your biggest loss in the markets. So it is the first thing which comes to you when you talk about markets. When was your biggest loss? That's the only thing you remember all the time, not your biggest profits, right? That's why. So you take that bias into there.
You're quite into fitness as well, right? So how does fitness help to be a good trader? Or is it the other way around? Because क्या होता है? Either your discipline from trading will percolate into your outside trading life or vice versa.
No, I think trading defines my life. It gets filtered out everywhere else. It's like I'm good at fitness also because I'm good at trading or
Okay.
disciplined at trading, you can say.
For me, it's the ulta.
Okay.
For me, it's the ulta. My discipline outside the trading percolates into my trading.
Yeah. I'm quite disciplined at trading. I cut my losses very, very quickly. So it kind of filters into everything, every part of my life. I see risk reward and do that. So fitness, it naturally came to me. It's like I can consistently grind for muscle growth or fat loss. I can consistently do something without expecting results sooner.
Like also like now that you're at a point where you could have easily inflated your lifestyle, but you're not actively like going for that lifestyle inflation, right? What's the reason? Like you don't fancy that posh lifestyle, or it's just
First is bringing up, very middle class bringing up. So whatever money I make, I wanted like to hold it up for a capital for
that hoarding
myself.
mentality is still there.
Yeah, because I want a capital for myself so that I don't rely on anyone. So that's the main reason I'm not inflating anything for now. Even if I don't see the point of luxury right now. Like what is the luxury right now? Like some watches or cars. Cars, I don't see the roads to drive, and watches, I'm not that into watches also. So I don't see the luxury lifestyle as a risk reward point of thing. It's a high risk, low reward thing for me. That's it.
this is something that I've noticed among a lot of traders. We guys are like highly utilitarian.
Yes.
We'll only invest or we'll only spend on something which serves our utility,
Yeah.
which serves us, you know, in a materialistic sense. Nice. So now, final thing. Okay, like we have a wonderful conversation. We went a little deep as well. Let's say now there's a trader, okay, who is in a place in which you had been like 10 years back. A trader who's coming to the markets with 5 lakhs capital, probably 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs capital, who doesn't have any alternate sources of income yet. And now that there is no leverage available from any brokers, correct? The leverage is fixed, basically like whatever the exchange allowed leverage, but that's the only leverage that's allowed. In this scenario, and the markets have also gotten like extremely tough, right? The structural changes have happened in the markets, a lot of regulatory changes that have happened in the markets. So in this scenario, how do you think one should approach if he's starting now, right now, and he's not yet profitable, he doesn't even have a track record?
I'd give a long answer to this. So I'd ask you first, why would you want to become a trader? Is it primarily because of money, or you like trading? These are two different things. And if the answer is money, build a career somewhere else. Like you want money. The amount of time it will take to make this as a career and the effort it will take, you'll do something very well somewhere else if you do the same effort, put the same efforts. So what I did suited for me, it shouldn't be for everyone else. So I would actually suggest that if the primary motive is money, you should build a career somewhere else, and you should also decide how much money. It's like, even if you like trading, you have to decide how much money you want to make. Let's say it's less than 50 lakhs per annum. Again, decide to put a career somewhere else. You'll easily make that money there. Instead of making 50 lakhs in trading, you'll make the money there. To make 50 lakhs in trading, let's say with the 1 CR account, you'll have to make
1
50.
CR is a luxury for most of the people
This
who
is
come
an
to trading.
elitist game. Capital markets is for people with capital.
Yogi, like this is something, okay, like this is, I always get shit on for saying this. When I say that, like I went on different podcasts and like when they ask like what is the minimum capital one should come to trade with, I say that minimum 30-40 lakhs to minimum hona chahiye. And people are like, what are you saying? So I get shit on a lot, but it is what it is, correct? Like I always say this, it's called capital markets for a reason.
See, even if you want to start a restaurant, like it's a business, right? You need some capital.
Correct.
That starting capital will depend on where you start the restaurant. Let's say you are starting here at Bengaluru. It's not going to be a cheap place, right? So it depends upon where you are. So same way, the capital what you want to make in market, also the amount of money you want to make, you have to bring in such capital also. For a 5 lakh trader, I would also ask him this: would you have life insurance in trading? Would you have PF, NPS? These are all things I went through when I started. I was like having nothing. I was like, after I was started, even when I started making money also, I was incredibly insecure. It's like I didn't have anything that a normal person has. It's like he has a life insurance, he has a health insurance, he has vagera vagera
Plus, this
vagera.
profession is extremely lonely.
Yeah. So you're extremely insecure, and I don't know if most people will be suited for this also. That's why the win percentage is also very, very less. I'm not discouraging or telling people not to do
this is precisely why we started this series. Okay, I wanted to give optimism, but at the same time I wanted that optimism to be coupled with pragmatism. ऐसा नहीं कि मतलब योगेश को देखो या किसी और को देख के आगे की मतलब बंदा ने 5 लाख लेके अभी 5 करोड़ तक स्केल किया है. I'll also do that. Optimism is required, but he should also understand the real side of it, the dark side of it.
Yeah.
So you explained it perfectly.
Like if you are in a dark periods, right? Like I mean the DD periods, you go through why I'm doing this. It's like hits you every now and then. Even if you have a losing day, like most losing days, I'm like, am I doing the right thing here? Like whatever money you have made up till now, was it because of luck? Was there any process involved? Was there any skill involved? And every time I ask this question, I also answer myself. Even if I drift from zero, will I come back to the same level in a shorter period of time, or will it take me longer? If the answer is longer, there was luck involved. The answer is short, or there wasn't luck involved.
Every time you ask that question, what's the answer that you come up with? Is it longer or is it shorter?
I'd say shorter because a lot of people know me now.
That's because that's after like you've made an impact.
Yeah.
Now imagine that.
That
like,
means you have some skill, right? The impact is because there is some skill right now.
no, not like that. For example, like you came with the same amount of capital and with the same amount of knowledge. Instead of 2015, you came in 2024, 2025. Would you be able to scale at the same pace?
This is a different question actually. This is where luck comes in. Because SEBI is like regulatory things come inside now. You cannot predict these things, right? So luck also plays a factor here. So you have to be very, very, very
Lucky to be at the right place
at
at
the right time.
Yeah.
And you get, even I got funded at the right time. Like a lot of people won't.
Probably even if you
You have
got
to
funded now,
acknowledge luck when there is luck, right?
True.
It's as much.
this is something which I've noticed among traders than business owners. Business में भी बहुत ज़्यादा luck चाहिए होता है, but lot of these business owners attribute their success to their skill and their hard work. Trading में भी बहुत ज़्यादा hard work है, बहुत ज़्यादा skill है, बहुत ज़्यादा घिसना रहता है. But traders are some of the most self-aware people that I know. Because वो जो अगर self-awareness नहीं आती है, तो they would be not successful traders.
Yes.
है ना? तो we have that ability to call spade a spade. You are openly saying that in spite of like having that skill to make money day in and day out, you are saying that a part of it is because of luck. And I also openly say that.
Yeah.
I was at the right place at the right time, things happened to me. Yes, skill is a part of that equation, but it's not the entire equation.
Skill makes you like survive.
Probably. Luck is what makes you thrive.
It's truth. To be honest.
That's what it is. I mean, unless you recognize the role of luck, it's full by randomness, right? No matter like how talented you are, if you're not at the right place at the right time, you are as good as nothing.
Yeah.
Yogi, I think it was a fantastic conversation. Thanks for coming here. And we have a small token of appreciation from the team of Grow.
Thank you.
Have it. Yeah. We'll catch up again off camera.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing. Please read the risk disclosure documents carefully before investing in equity shares, derivatives, mutual fund, and or other instruments traded on the stock exchanges.